strong.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another deck profile. Today we are going to be doing a Doran the Siege Tower deck profile. Now I've had this deck for probably a while, probably a year. I just never had the chance to really profile it as I felt that the deck wasn't good enough yet. And since the release of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set, Doran has had quite the power creep, and I'm really enjoying the deck now. Like, you guys don't know, this is Doran the Siege Tower. He is a 3-drop 0/5 Treefolk creature, which each creature on the battlefield assigns damage through its power, through its toughness rather than its power. So it basically, every creature on the board hits with their butts, pretty much. And yeah, that's what I liked about the deck. Also, Treefolks. I remember asking if Treefolks were viable, and I got a yeah, and I rolled with that to find out that he wasn't wrong. It was a bit yeah, but since the Lord of the Rings, the deck's had a real good power creep, and I'm so excited to play it. I remember I actually took it apart for a little bit because I didn't feel like it was that good. But yeah, since we got new Treefolks, the deck's become really strong now. So let's get to the deck. So first creature is a mono black. We have this plant, this Tree of Perdition. So it is a 0/13 defender with you tap, you exchange opponent's life with this card's toughness. So an opponent's life becomes 13 while this becomes a 0 something, 0, 40, 30, whatever. Most of the time I play this to mainly kind of bait out kill cards and negate cards, which it works, it does. It's just I wish I could actually get this card off. Next we have Treefolk Harbinger. Treefolk Harbinger is a 1-drop 0/3, which allows you to stack the top card of your deck with either a forest or a Treefolk. Sometimes it's mainly like Bosk Bannerment, which allows me to cast my Treefolks and my Shamans for 1 less mana, which makes a real difference since a lot of the Treefolks are like 5+. Then we have Leaf Crown Elder, which has Kingship. Kingship is really good because it allows you to look at the top card of your library, and if it's a Treefolk, it goes to your hand. Oh, sorry, it doesn't go to hand. That's a Herald Horn. It gets summoned onto the battlefield for free, which is really strong, really good. Especially if it's this card, which has Land Walk, depending on what land you have. If you have both, if you've got forest, it has forest walk. If you've got plains, it has plains walk. If you have a swamp, it has swamp walk. If you've got all 3, then it has all 3. So you have a 2/6 that can't be blocked if your opponent has a land that I control. It's also really good when I can buff this guy a lot. Like for example, Timber Protector. Other Treefolks get +1/+1, and other Treefolks and forests are indestructible. So imagine effectively a 3/7 that's hitting for 7, can't be blocked, and it has indestructible. Pretty good. Unfortunately, it doesn't give itself indestructible, so I will have to save his tree butt a lot of the time. But yeah, still really strong, and only cost me a 10, I think. Next, we have an Orchard Warden. Orchard Warden is very good when trying to regain some life, because whenever a Treefolk enters the battlefield, I gain life equal to its toughness, which in this deck is quite a lot. But since they are quite beefy mana, I only get to play 1 a turn, unless I have cards like Leaf Crown Elder. So next is my Twin Groves. This card's really cool because when it enters the battlefield, he creates a Treefolk Warrior with his power toughness so equal to the number of forests I control. His power is also equal to the number of forests I control, so he could also be quite big. So for like 6 mana, I have 2 really big boys. Like could have 2 6/6s on board. Next, we have Yadora, Grave Gardener. So whenever a non-token creature dies, I can put it face down, and it's now forced instead of putting it in the graveyard, which is fine because I could either use this or some of my mana dorks, or even Heartbringer. Actually, I could just put him down here as a forced. Next, we have Aetherroot Channeler. Aetherroot Channeler is really good because it's one of the few tree folks that actually have reach. Plus, it is a 4/6. Creature supposed you control costs X less for X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So, if I have, for example, Orchard Warden on board, this guy heals me for 6, also then costs me 6 less mana to cast a tree folk. He can also tap himself to gain 2 life. So he does make my tree folks cheaper. Next is Dungrove Elder. Dungrove Elder is a 3-drop tree folk that has hexproof, and its power and toughness is equal to the number of forests I control. So he is very nice. He's very nice to have. He's an early game card that he can't be targeted. Next is Dungrove Elder. Sorry, not Dungrove Elder. Dauntless Dorbark. He is one of the few tree folks to have trample if another tree folk is on the battlefield. His power toughness is also equal to the number of forests and the number of tree folks you control. So he could get quite massive, which is nice because if I then equip him with Swifties, he can attack. Next we have, I don't know what your guys' opinion on this card is, but I really like Tree Ghoul, Ghoul Tree. Like, he is an 8-drop 10/10, and the only thing about him that he has is he costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard, which might not be anything. I might just have to pay the 8 to summon him, but if I'm paying 8 mana for a 10/10, yeah, I'm paying 8 mana for a 10/10. Might not have any keywords, but he's a really big boy, and I do like him a lot. Oh, so if I get him off of Leaf Crown Elder, that's even better. So, next is one of the new cards from Lord of the Rings is Fangorn Tree Shepherd. This guy is nuts, because he's not just a 4/10. He also gives all my tree folks, including himself, vigilance. This means they don't tap when they attack. Also, whenever one or more tree folks you control attacks, you add twice that much green. So if 2 tree folks attack, you are effectively getting like 4 green floating mana. That says here, you don't lose unspent green mana as steps and phases end, which means, say you have like, I don't know, you have 4 mana and it gets to your end phase. What you can do is you can tap like other forests you have that you don't have tapped and just add to it, because it isn't going to disappear. As long as this guy's still on board, it won't disappear. That's why I like to use this Constellation Forest for, just to kind of show how much floating mana I have. Okay, next for the last mono green tree folk, we have my Observer. Whenever a creature you control with toughness 4 greater dies, you draw a card. So if one of my slightly smaller tree folks do die, at least I can draw a card from it. Next, for the last mono green creature, we have a Dryad. We have this plant, Sylvan's Courted. So it's a 2-drop 0/3 defender with hexproof. So opponents can't target, but can't attack. What I can do though is tap to add 1 mana of any color, which also helps me cast my really big trees. Now for the multicolored tree folks and creatures, we have got my first tree folk commander, Sapling of Calyfnor, which is a 2/5 indestructible. Now originally I I was only playing a black-green Treefolk deck at the very beginning, because I really liked this guy because it was a 2/5 indestructible, but I knew he wasn't doing much damage. But whenever he attacks, I look at the top card of my library. If it's a Treefolk, if it's a creature, you gain life equal to its toughness and lose life equal to its power. Which most of the time, I'm gaining at least two life. Because for example, like this guy's a 2/6. I am losing 2 life, but effectively gaining 4 life. That's kind of how it works. I had him for a while, but then I kind of switched to a different commander. I actually still run the other commander in here. So, we'll get to him though later. Next is Fabrew Elder. Fabrew Elder is a 3-drop mana dork with vigilance. His power and toughness are equal. He gets a 1/1 for each color among perms I control. So if I have my commander, he's a 3/3 that can tap for swamp, forest, and plains, which is really good. Next is one of the cards that we got from. In fact, the next 2 cards are Lord of the Ring cards. So first, we have Old Man Willow, which is power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control, not just forests. And to be fair, I never used the last effect, which is whenever he attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or token. If you do, target creature gets a -2/-2 to the end of turn. I've never used this effect because I usually use my tokens, either my creature tokens to attack and never sack them, or for example, food tokens because I want to gain life. And gaining life is why this next card is insane. And I would recommend, if you see him, you must kill him. Treebeard, Gracious Host. His ears very nuts. He's a 0/5 4-drop with Trample and Ward 2. When he also enters the battlefield, you create 2 food tokens. But whenever you gain life, you put that many 1/1 counters on target halfling or treefolk. So you could just sack those 2 foods, gain 6, put 6 1/1 counters on him, because he has trample. The bigger he is, the bigger he is, the harder he hits. Like, the card is truly dumb, and you should kill him on sight. Like, it will cost you, like, I don't know, Swords of Plowshare, it will cost you like 3 mana, the same with Path to Exile. Any other cards, other kill cards could be like a 5-drop or 4-drop, depending on which one you use. But yeah, he is really dumb in my opinion. He is so good. If you really want to, he can be your commander, because he is a legendary creature. Okay, so especially when you have like Orchard Warden, you're gaining like 5 life. Oh look, I get to put 5 1/1 counters on a treefolk or halfling. Most of the time it is a treefolk because I have no halflings in the deck. Like, what you could do, you could run, I'll just grab this because this is the nearest copy. You could run Rosy Cotton of South Lane and Squirrely Oak, because if you don't know, Rosy Cotton of South Lane has a nice little ability. When she enters the battlefield, you create a food token. Whenever you create a token, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature other than Rosy Cotton. And because Squirrely Oak, whenever it gets a 1/1 counter, it creates a squirrel. And because you create a squirrel, you get to put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So you keep putting 1/1 counters on Squirrely Oak, keep making tokens so you have infinite squirrels and effectively an infinite power and toughness treefolk on board. Like, if you want to fit this in, you can. I just rather not, because squirrels are my friend Zeddy's thing. Like, but if you guys do want to see a build using that mechanic, do let me know, and I'll probably do it. I want to record like commander games, but they can take so long, so long. maybe that's something for the future. For the last tree folk, we have Colonor, the last Yield. He was actually my second commander for this deck. I ran him for a few months. He is a 6-drop 3/7 with Vigilance and Reach. Whenever he or another creature you control dies, return up to one target creature card with lesser toughness from your graveyard to your hand. So if he does die or another creature dies, you can add a creature with lesser toughness in it. You can add the creatures that die technically as long as you have another creature in your bin. You can just bring it back. Because as soon as like cards like this and Don't Grow Elder die, they become effectively 0/0, so you can add them to your hand. So then, yeah, he was really good. The only problem is he was like 6 mana to bring out, and I just could not get enough mana again to bring him out for like the 3rd or 2nd time. So yeah, I then went to Doran, which Doran works extremely well. So then, our next and last multicolored creature is this Dryad. When it enters, when another creature enters the battlefield, you gain life equal to its toughness. So yet again, more life gain, more counters. Also, a colorless, a green and a white, you can tap to populate, which allows you to create a token copy of a target token. Creatures token, sorry. So yeah, it is really good. I've never used the populate ability because I just like the idea of just gaining a lot of life. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The deck is really fun to play. I know most people don't like the idea of playing Tree Folks because they're slow. But when you take your time with Tree Folks, like building and playing, it does reward you. And since the Lord of the Rings set, other people have actually been wanting to play Tree Folks, which is kind of cool. Tree Folks used to be that archetype that no one really touched, but now a lot of people want to. It's kind of funny. So we then have a Soul Ring. As you do, basic commander deck, you want a Soul Ring. Fort Vessel. You have no maximum hand size and it taps for colorless mana. We then have a Chromatic Lantern. Lands you control tap for any color, and it also taps for any color. We have an Urza's Incubator. Choose a creature type, creature of the chosen type, costs 2 colors less. So your really big tree folks are slightly cheaper to cast. And similar with Herald's Horn, you call tree folks, your tree folks cost 1 less. So if you got both of these on board, your creatures cost like 3 less. Well, your tree folks cost 3 less. Also, beginning of the upkeep, look at the top card. If it's a tree folk, repeal it, add it to your hand. If not, just put it back on top. And then we have our Helmet's Archive, which is really good because if you gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. So again, more ways to life gain, more ways to get more counters with Treebeard. And then if you draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, you draw 2 cards. Which is, yeah, really good, especially when you play cards like Phyrexian Arena. You'll draw 2 cards instead of 1. And then go to your normal draw phase. And then for the last card, it's a Swiftfoot Boots. I like, in my decks, this is the lowest amount of artifacts I've ever played. Even in my rats, I played like 11 or 10 artifacts. I'm only playing with 7. It feels a little bit odd, because I do love artifacts. But yeah, only 7 in this deck, and only 1 equipment. 6 basics, 1 equipment. Okay, and now we get to the Planeswalkers. At the moment, Tree Folks are the only deck I have that actually has a Planeswalker in it. So first we have Wrenn and Realmbreaker. Lands you control have tap and 1 mana of any color. Up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental with hexproof, vigilance, and haste. Next to mill the top 3 cards of your library. Yeah, mill 3 cards, you may put a permanent among them into your hand. I mostly do that one, to be honest. And then the next 7, I've never been able to get to the next 7, but you get an emblem with you may play lands and cast spells from your graveyard. I'm sorry, you may cast permanent spells from your graveyard, which is still really good. I just haven't had the chance to really get into that yet. And then we have When and 7, which has 4 loyalty abilities. +1, reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all land cards in your hand, and put the other revealed cards into the graveyard. 0, you may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Tapped. 3, neg 3, create a tree folk token with reach and its power toughness equal to the number of lands you control. The neg 8 is you put return all permanents from your graveyard to your hand, you get emblem move, you have no maximum hand size. Again, I've never been able to get the big ones off of the Wrens. For the final Planeswalker, we have this one. I've never been able to pronounce her name. I'll just call her the Sun's Heart. She has only got 1 loyalty ability. The reason why I play is like creatures can assign, like creatures I control assigns combat through its toughness rather than its power. The only loyalty ability she has is neg 3. You gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. You can only like do that twice, so then she's left with like 1 loyalty, and then I just leave, and then everyone just kind of leaves her because she doesn't do anything. I've got no ways to proliferate, so it's kind of fine. Okay, so next we go to the instances. I have 13 instances, so kind of like the same number in my knights. We have a Source to Plowshare, exile target creature, its controller gains life equal to its power. We have a Worldly Tutor, so search your deck for a creature card, put it on top. You may want to cast this during your your opponent's end phase, and kind of like the same thing with crop rotation. Yes, I did pay the extra mana. I say the extra mana, the extra muns to grab this version because this version's so gorgeous. Look at it. Foil, alt art, crop rotation. It's great. I also love on these cards, like the flavor text is different on some of them. The end of my cycle draws near. Rise up, young sprouts, and take roots in my place. It's both sad and really nice. It also looks like there's a secret lair art of Doran Siege Tower that kind of looks like this. I really do want to grab that one, but that one's like £20 plus. So that might be a job to do after I kind of upgrade all the cards in this deck with cards from the Lord of the Rings set. The next source instant is a Heroic Intervention. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible to the end of turn. Pretty basic, pretty simple. And then we have a Beast Within. This is actually a printing from the Lord of the Rings set. I really like this because it's transforming into a bear. I also really want to play this in the Radagast deck I want to build. Say want to. I have some of the cards, just not all of them. And this will be in there. Next, we have Crimson's Grip. So it has split second, so if this is on the stack, you can't, basically you can't chain or activate anything after this card. It just destroys an artifact or enchantment. That's about it. And then we have Entist Restoration for the last mono green card. So you sack a land, you search your library for 2 basics, put them on the battlefield tapped. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you may search your deck for 3 basic lands and put them into the battlefield tapped. Which in this deck, I have a fair few cards that have at least like 4 power. You could be huge. 5 power, 4 power. You could also be huge. You could also be huge. You get the idea. I do have 3 folks that have more than 4 power. So this could get me the lands I'm missing, or just get me more force to beef up my guys. And then we have Putrefy, destroy target artifact or creature, it cannot be regenerated. So, and then Mortify, destroy target creature or enchantment. Then we have Asban Charm. You may choose one, exile target creature, power 3 or greater, draw 2, lose 2, distribute 2 1/1 counters among 1 or 2 creatures you control. So yeah, I really like this card a lot. Like for the certain situation, you can use, there's an effect for each situation that I really like. You can make your guys slightly bigger when your opponent attacks. You may want to draw 2 and lose 2, like during the opponent's end step. And you might just exile creature, could be an issue and you just want it gone. Next we have Grim Contest, where target creature you control, choose target creature you control and target creature an opponent controls. Each of those creatures deal damage equal to its toughness to the other. So because my tree folks have quite huge toughness, usually my creatures win. And then we have a Death Sprout. This card's really good because it's also a land search. You get to destroy a creature, then you may add search for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. So yeah, for 2 black, a green and a colorless, this card's really good for what it does. And then for the last instant, we have this card, which is basically it's a creature search for white and green. Search your deck for a creature, add to your hand, shuffle your library. Really, really good. Obviously, I've spent time and effort while trying to build this deck and also saving up money to actually fully kick it out with good cards. For the sorceries, we have a Night Whisper, so you draw 2, lose 2. Read the Bones, you scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. And then we have, I played this card last week and I felt so nasty because it's a Toxic Deluge, and I paid the additional cost, which is I paid 5 life and all the creatures on the battlefield got -5/-5, which is fine for my creatures because they live, but not so much for my opponents since I pretty much wiped the board and my creatures were still on board. Sure, there's no real point to attack, but I still did because I had Fangorn on the battlefield. He still gave me tons of green mana. So yeah, Toxic Deluge, really good. Also, really extra cheap now because it came in the one of the Lord of the Rings commander decks. Next we have Damnation, just a basic board wipe. For the sorceries, green sorceries, we have Nature's Law, search your deck for forest, put onto the battlefield. Rampant Growth, search your deck for a basic land, put on the battlefield tapped. Cultivate, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, 1 goes to your hand, 1 goes to the battlefield tapped. And the last mono green card is another card that came out in the Lord of the Rings set, and honestly it's nuts. We have the Last March of the Ents. This spell can't be countered. It is an 8-drop though, so at least you'll actually gain your mana's worth. You draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, and then you may put as many creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. So, for example, the highest I got to this I think was 17, so I drew 17 cards, I put I think it was 7 creatures on the battlefield. It's really good, and I don't have to worry about counter spells because it can't be countered. It's amazing. I think I only got for £12, I think. To be fair, I also have this copy. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Yeah, I've got this version, and I've also got this version of Fangorn too. So I have more than enough cards. Even though the card is slightly dropping in price too, so it's becoming more and more cheaper, which I love to see. So for the last 2 sorceries, we have this Ultimatum, which you return any number of permanents with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So all your creatures that you've lost, or other permanents, they come back to the battlefield. Yeah. And then we have Casualties of War. Choose 1 or more. Draw a target artifact, creature, enchantment, land, planeswalker. With our player base, we don't destroy lands unless it's a land that we need to kill, like I don't know, Maze's End, something like that. Is Maze's End the one that allows you to win the game? You got 10 gates. I think so. That's pretty much the only one we destroy. Okay. Now for the enchantments. I actually won like 10, 11 enchantments I think in this deck. So begin, Smothering Types, because I need mana to play my Tree Folks. Stone Skin is really cool. It came out in Baldur's Gate. It has Flash. It enchants a creature, and the enchanted creature gets +0/+10. So I could just put this on my commander, or Fangorn, and it'll be huge. But usually I put it on my my commander. We then have Phyrexian Arena. During your upkeep, draw a card, lose a life. Behind the scenes is really strong when I have Stone Skin on, because creatures I control have Skulk, which means they cannot be blocked by creatures with greater power. So effectively, I could have an unblockable commander because my power is 0, so it can't be blocked. I have won games using that, and it is a bit nasty. Next we have Sanguine Bond. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. And yes, I am using the other half, being Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And then we get to the mono green enchantments. We are running this card, the version from Lord of the Rings. It's Sleepy Radagast with Sleepy Animals. Creature control, gain hexproof. A green and a colorless, regenerate target creature. Yeah. And then we have Assemble the Entmoot. So creature control have reach, which is really good because I don't have that many tree folk. Many tree folks don't have reach, so this is a real game changer. I may sacrifice the Entmoot, will create 3 tapped XX green tree folk creature tokens where X is the number of life you gained this turn, and put a reach counter on each of them. So if I do need more guys, I could make bunch of guys do my end step, but why would I do that if I've already got bigger guys? Usually I just keep this card on board so I've got reach, in case like I don't see this card, which is, actually I just put it here, Spider Silk Armor. This is the old text, which states creature you control get +0/+1 and may block as though they had flying. In the newer printing, it gives them reach, which is a free drop, so it's slightly cheaper than the Entmoot by 1. Next is a new card that came out in Wild of Eldraine. Virtue of Strength. Virtue of Strength is extremely busted in my opinion, because for 1 green sorcery adventure, you can return to a creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can get back a sack land. Yeah. And then if you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. So a forest can tap for 3 forests, a swamp can tap for 3 swamps, and a plains can tap for 3 plains. Yeah, it puts Liliana to shame really, because it has more options than just swamps. Like, I love all the virtues in the Eldraine set. I think they're all great. Like, I won the black one in Rats because it allows me to once a turn regenerate a creature. No, bring a creature back from a graveyard into the battlefield. It's a card that does that. It's 1 green, you pay life equal to its mana value. I can't remember what it's called. I know I have a copy, I just never really play it. Okay, and now we get to the lands. So, we're playing a command deck, so we play Command Tower. We play a commander deck, so we cast Path of Ancestry. we have Unclaimed Territory. At the battlefield, choose Tree Folk. Well, a creature type. Taps for a colorless, or you may tap to add a mana of any color. That mana can only be cast though to cast creatures of chosen type. Shocker, I know. We have Sandstep Citadel. It taps for a white, black, and green. And then we have this one that does the same thing. It taps for white, black, green, or pay 3 to cycle, so I can discard draw card. And then we have Mumbling Bosk. It taps for green. You may reveal Tree Folk in your hand. If you do, it comes out untapped. And you may tap to add white or black. It does deal 1 damage to you though, which is fine, because we have so much life gain, we can deal with 1 damage. The same with Phyrexian Arena. Next we have Sun Petal Grove. Comes on tap, you control a forest or plains. Canopy Vista comes on tap, you control 2 or more basic lands. Then we have Manas Triumph. That's not how you say it, is it? No. Ends the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. With Bull Hope, you still have got a commander out. Taps for white, or you can pay a white and a cost. Tap it, draw a card, but I can only activate that if like 2 or more creatures attack this turn. Yeah, 2 or more. And then we have Jabuka Bog. Bojuka Bog. Ends the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Gingerbread Cottage. Cabin. Comes in on tap, you got 3 or more forts. If it comes on tap, you create a fruit token, so it helps you gain more life, especially with Treebeard. And then we have Fangorn Forest, which is a reprint of the Cradle of Growth. So all lands are forests in addition to other types. It means my tree folks that rely on forests to be on the battlefield, so they gain more power and toughness, they gain even more power and toughness. And then we have Verdant Catacombs, which is the tap, sack, lose a life, tap, lose life, sack, search for forest or swamp, and then Marsh Flats, which does the same thing but for plains and swamps. Next we have Temple of the Forest Guards. Adds 2 cards mana. You can only do that if you got 5 or more lands. Linky Tower, no maximum hand size. Access Tunnel is I run it because of Doran, because creatures with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. So again, really good land. So those are kind of like all the non-basics. Right, I do run a fair few green, but at the moment I think it's like 6 plains. I think it's like 5 swamps, and I think 6 forests. So these are my lands. 6 plains, 5 swamps, 6 forests. And honestly, I think that's the right amount of lands I need, since that I can make and search for other forests. I still need more forests though at the end of the day. But yeah, that has been my Doran the Siege Tower Commander deck profile. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed the other videos I've posted so far. Again, I am going to try and post 2 videos per week, either deck profiles or my new series that I'd like to call Let's Discuss, which is basically when I talk about either future Magic releases or Pokemon releases or anything else that has caught my eye. Hopefully that series grows and it's something else to do rather than open boxes and do deck profiles. It's something else I can actually talk about. I can get into the cards themselves, like their alt arts, their printings, what they do, how they benefit the decks. Like, that is something I've been wanting to do for a while. I just never had the time, but finally I think I have time to finally do that. So yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to hit that bell and that subscribe button so you can see me more often while I upload videos. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.